Welcome to Hitting the Field. I'm Lindsay Gurzina, and I'll be your host this week. And with me is Brett West and Joshua Thicklin. We're going to start it off with college basketball because the season's been underway. And our UCF Knights are now 1-2. Joshua, what do you think of their season so far?
So far this season, we've seen some vast improvements. I think there's a change in mentality and the culture. We heard with Justin McBride after last games, like, we're tired of losing. And I think that's a great change because last season I felt they got complacent. Once things started rolling backwards and they just let them keep on rolling. I honestly feel that when we see improvements in Adonis and BJ Taylor, those are the X factors for this team. Last year they were freshman phenoms, both collectively having 7 all AAC rookies of the week. So I feel that we expect a lot from them.
Yeah, for me, they're struggling a little bit right now, but they look a lot better. I think we need to still work on our free throw shooting. We're shooting around 50-60% still, which is astronomically low. It's terrible. That's probably going to be ranking in the lower half of the NCAA. And then, we're still turning the ball over a lot. We probably had about at least 15 turnovers in the first 3 games. And when BJ Taylor comes back, I really think that's going to help because Daquan Walker, he runs the show all right, but BJ Taylor has really let this team take off. I think him with his offensive ability, defensive ability, shooting. He's not just a good passing point guard. He's a floor general. He can shoot. He can help take over games. And, one thing that really helps from last year is we never really had a good shot blocker. And Tacos really has added that presence. He's getting 2-3 blocks a game. The students rally behind him. He comes in the game, and the student section just goes nuts. You can just tell there's a different energy with this team, and I think Stephon Blair coming off the bench also really helps. He's a good energy guy. He's not just someone that's going to come in. He's got decent skill, but he's a really good energy guy off the bench, with his blocks and his just ability to score in the paint. I think that also kind of helps.
Well, what do you think the team can accomplish this year?
I feel that our expectations and goals for UCF basketball should be kind of weighed down a little bit. I feel that they can possibly earn a spot in the NIT tournament with the team and the roster the way it is. The AAC is no joke. And I think we have a chance to have a couple upsets. I'm looking at you, UConn.
Yeah, I think NIT is probably is as good as we're going to get. I mean, maybe if Taylor can come in and really spark them, maybe a low-seeded NCAA tournament bid, but to me, I think NIT, if we get there, I think that would be a good accomplishment for this team because they're still a young team. We still got a lot of freshmen and sophomores, so I think if they get that winning mentality, I think that's really going to help them out.
Okay, well, now Danny White is now the UCF Director of Athletics here, and both of you guys were at the press conference this last week. What do you think of Danny White taking over?
I was impressed. He sounded good. He sounded like, he's ready to come in here. He's ready to work. He made a joke that his kids were excited they get to go to Disney World. So that was good. He seems like he's excited to be here. I don't think he's going to be like Todd Stansberry, kind of get another job and go and leave us. So I was impressed. And, one thing I do like about him is he's got a good coaching track record. The coach that he's hired has done well at Buffalo, which, in my opinion, I think we're ahead of Buffalo when it comes to just the program in general. So if he can come in, his biggest hire is going to be his first one. That's a football coach. But I was impressed with him. He sounded good, and he sounds like he's ready to go.
I really was impressed with Mr. White during the press conference. I feel like his honesty and he really emphasized on integrity. And also he didn't stray away from the fact that, we're here to win. And also keeping academic excellence. As you know, the graduation success rate for UCF athletes here is #1 among public universities. So his main goal, like Brett said, is the coaching hire. Outside of that, he honestly can keep everything in place the way it is. So I like his mentality. He's here to put rings on kids' fingers, and I like that.
You think UCF, you think we can get that done here? You think a national championship is possible here for football?
National championship? Not in 5 years, but I feel that we can make another bid for another BCS run within the next 4 years.
Yeah, that might be his biggest job is trying to get into that Power 5. If we can get into that Power 5, I think our recruiting's going to take off. We're going to get more money in. I really think if we can get into that Power 5, it's really going to help him and help this program take off.
He said he wants to say that 5 years is probably the limit for any coach, and he wants to give him time to develop. But he also, what I really like what he said, I'm not going to pitch rebuilding because next year we aim to be competitive, and I think that's what the Knights fans really want to hear.
Yeah, I think we've got a good foundation, at least for our football team. They're young, and you've kind of seen that this year. They don't have a lot of experience. But I think that we've got a good foundation. You bring in a good coach, someone that can coach them, someone that can recruit. I really think that we could be back next year, at least to a bowl game. Probably not the conference championship. I think we could make a bowl run next year.
We have great expectation for the Knights next year.
Yeah.
Hopefully next week we can get the win that we all been waiting for. So USF, we're coming for you.
Yeah, so I actually was there as well, and I thought he was really good, and he seemed innovative and was talking to student athletes, which was really great. So I appreciated that. How important is it to get a new football coach?
Well, the football coach is going to be his biggest hire, and we got to get this right. So I'm going to start off with my number one coach that I think we should get, and that's Jeff Brom. If you look at his teams are averaging at least 35 points a game in almost every game except for 2, and those 2 games came against SEC teams, being Vanderbilt and LSU. And against LSU, he still scored 20 points, and he's not working with the best talent. His quarterback is actually he's all right. He's a good quarterback for their skill level of play. He's from Florida, so that's a good thing with Jeff Brom is he knows how to recruit Florida. We don't have to worry about him coming in because we kind of struggle with that. O'Leary didn't do that well recruiting Florida. He got a lot of our good talent players from like Georgia and other states like that. So now we're going to move on, and I think the next best coach might be Jeff Collins. It could be, he's the defensive coordinator from Florida. He's got his ties to UCF. He worked under George O'Leary. He's got a solid defensive foundation. If you look at his Mississippi State defense and then you look at his Florida defense, they've just been dominant. And that's been the thing about Florida this year is their offense has struggled, but their defense keeps them in every game. And I really think that if they can hire him or Brom, I really think this program could take that next step and become a nationally recognized program. And we could start getting in some of those 5-star recruits and possibly, making that chance at a national championship run and the Big 12.
Don't go anywhere. After the break, we'll be talking about professional soccer and the NFL. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Hitting the Field. I'm Lindsay Gerzina, and joining me at the desk now is Connor Engelhart and Troy Kless. This weekend, Barcelona hammered their arch rivals Real Madrid 4-0. Troy, is that one of the worst defeats you've seen in this rivalry before?
I think it's definitely up there. I mean, I always reference the 5-0 win by Barca in the Camp Nou a couple years ago, but this was right up there. I mean, it was just a total dominating performance from Barcelona from front to back. I mean, Neymar and Suarez, of course, carrying the team throughout the season, 19 goals in between those two. And throughout the midfield, Andres Iniesta, he was just, at world-class level that game. And then at the back, Claudio Bravo made some huge saves in the second half, and, that just showed the domination that Barca were able to, impose on just a really open Real Madrid team, and they really, really slacking in the defensive side of things.
Yeah, the one thing Real Madrid showed was like no heart and no lack of effort almost, because Gareth Bale and Benzema both really struggled in the game. It almost reminded me of the 2004 Yankees. They're up 3-0. Real Madrid was, close to the top of the league right there, and the Yankees basically in that ALCS game, just blew their 3-0 lead, and all credit to the Red Sox because that rivalry right there is one of the most fierce as well. And when David Ortiz hit that home run in Game 6, you almost knew the Yankees' hearts were deflated. So, and once it came to Game 7, the Red Sox just destroyed the Yankees in that game. So I would think that is actually the worst, game or series in rivalry history.
Well, what are some other rivalries that match up to El Clasico?
Well, keeping it in the soccer world, I got Man United versus Liverpool, two of the biggest cities in England. Basically, their teams are always, their fans are always out in full force for these sort of games. These are huge derby games dating back for hundreds of years. Also the same with Der Klassiker in Germany between Dortmund and Bayern Munich. I mean, we saw earlier this year Bayern Munich just totally dominating Dortmund. Same story over the weekend. So those are some of my soccer rivalries that I think have, always provided entertainment throughout the season. And then outside of soccer, I agree with the Yankees, Red Sox. It's just a huge rivalry. You're either Boston or you're New York, and you've seen some fantastic games. So much drama in between both teams. So it's been a really good rivalry, I think.
Yeah, the one I would have to go with, it's not known right now, but it's the Celtics versus the Lakers. You got the East Coast versus the West Coast. You had it back in the 60s with Auerbach and Bill Russell going against Chamberlain, and then you had Magic versus Bird. And even in 2008 and 2010, the rivalry was renewed a bit.
Okay. Well, there's been a lot of injuries in professional sports so far this season in the NFL. Troy, we saw Tony Romo come back from his injury this past weekend. Was this injury most damaging to his team so far?
I think it was. I mean, you saw, when we had Brandon Weeden and Matt Castle at the helm, the entire playbook just changed essentially. I mean, Matt Castle is always looking for Des Bryant or Jason Witten, not really able to spread the field like Romo can. I mean, you saw him avoid a sack and shovel pass to McFadden, turn a 1-yard loss, maybe even a safety, into a 9-yard gain. I mean, just the whole team, especially having a leader like that, healthy and on the field with you, it's such a tremendous boost to the team, and I think it's really going to help them going forward for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's also not just Romo who's been hurting the Cowboys this season. It's also been the defense. But it's not just Romo who's been injured this year. Ben Roethlisberger's also been out for the Steelers, and that nagging injury has really caused the Steelers to be in a bit of trouble when they could easily be in the playoff contention. Right now they're sitting at 6-4 because that injury to Le'Veon Bell has also hurt them. But credit to the Steelers because you've got people stepping up for the injuries. You got D'Angelo Williams stepping up for Bell, and even for a couple of games, Landry Jones came in for Ben Roethlisberger. But that injury for Roethlisberger is definitely going to be a problem going forward for the Steelers.
Okay. Now, which player's injury could play a factor going forward?
Well, I think some big ones that we've seen already, Andrew Luck, for example, and now the Colts, I mean, they were able to get the win under Matt Hasselbeck. So that's going to be huge going forward, though, and that, just a lot of fans seeming to lose faith in their quarterback. And I think, just this past weekend, Joe Flacco going out for the season with an ACL, it's going to be really tough for the Ravens to, get back into that fight for the AFC North title. So I think those have been the two biggest injuries. And also, we saw earlier this year with Julian Edelman at the New England Patriots. I mean, Tom Brady's Tom Brady, so he can, get the job done without him. But still, you're losing a huge offensive weapon on the field, and it really kind of limits your options, especially being a quarterback.
Now, my personal decision going forward is going to be Jordy Nelson. Even though he's been out the entire year, his ability to just catch the ball for the Packers, it gave Aaron Rodgers a whole new dimension because you look at it now with Devontae Adams and Randall Cobb, they're not steady receivers to catch the ball every single time. And Richard Rodgers isn't the best tight end in the league also. But Jordy Nelson, Rodgers could basically throw it to him every single time and expect him to catch it. He only had 4 drops last year when the team already has 16 going on so far this season. So that's definitely something that I can see going forward since the Packers are definitely going to be in the playoffs most likely. They're atop the NFC North now. They just beat the Vikings. So I would say Jordy Nelson's number 1. And number 2, I would probably have to go with Le'Veon Bell and Ben Roethlisberger, the combination, because I still feel like the Steelers are going to make the playoffs. And without Le'Veon Bell, he's probably the best running back in the league, if you ask me right now. So that's definitely going to be a hurt on the Steelers.
Now switching to the quarterback position, it was a big performance for young quarterbacks Winston and Osweiler this weekend. Eric Scott now joins us at the desk. And guys, where do you think these young quarterbacks rank in the league that have been playing for like 1 or 2 years now?
Well, to start away, number 5, I have Bridgewater. He threw for 296 yesterday against Green Bay, but he's averaging 210 yards on the year, He's only dropping about 28 times a game. They have a balanced run attack, and we know what that Minnesota defense is. They are 7-3, but he hasn't done enough for me at the quarterback position to put him higher. Number 4, I have the homegrown hero, Blake Bortles. He's dropping back about 38 times a game. He needs to improve his completion percentage, 56% right now. Throwing a lot of touchdowns. I like the connection that he has with Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns. We'll see how that progresses. And then Marcus Mariota at 3. I know he might be a system quarterback. He hasn't had enough time in that system. Listen, in 2 games against the Saints and the Bucs this year, 8 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, a QBR of 96. He's done well against the bad defenses. Let's see if he can keep it consistent against somewhat of the good defenses. And then number 2, the number 1 draft pick in the league, the number 1 player on the Bucs, Jameis Winston. 5 touchdowns to 5 different wide receivers yesterday. He has made that team relevant again. Now 5-5, 3-2 in the last 5 games after the bye week. Jameis Winston has progressed wonderfully. And number 1, it's only fair to give it to Derek Carr. Derek Carr, 21 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. His completion percentage is up 5 points from last year. He's done everything for Oakland. He's resurrected Michael Crabtree. We know the likes of Amari Cooper and exactly what he can do for that offense. And I think he owns that spot right now, number 1.
I'm going to mix up my top 5 a little bit. Number 5, I got Marcus Mariota, just because, in fact, I still think, he did have those 2 stellar games, against the Bucs and the Saints, but, I'm still not seeing enough from him. I think he still needs some weapons around him to kind of help improve his game as well. He's only maybe hitting Delaney Walker a couple of times, but, we still need more weapons around him. Like, that's why I have number 4, Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, like you said, he's still kind of relying on his defense a little bit, but he's got, plenty of potential. I mean, you're shut down by the Green Bay defense, but, he's still got plenty of room to work with. And then number 3, I got Blake Bortles, of course, UCF grad, 20 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. That's a bit of a blemish, but he's still been able to, get some wins for his teams when they needed him the most. And number 2, I got Derek Carr, and at number 1, Jameis Winston as well. He's, like you said, he's really a big turnaround for the Bucs this year.
And after the break, we'll be talking about head coaches and college football playoffs. We'll also be doing our pick'em for college football rivalry week. Hitting the field, we'll be right back.
Tonight on Deals After Dark. When I think of quality sunglasses, I think of boldness, but simplicity. And nothing provides both of those more than this set. Tonight, we have a pair of beautiful used matte black Oakley Holbrook sunglasses. These glasses offer an American frame accented with metal rivets and Oakley icons, perfect for buyers seeking performance and style. And do we have a deal for you guys tonight? For the next 40 seconds, that's right, 40 seconds, you have a chance to get your hands on this exclusive featured price of $110 or best offer. This deal, usually only available on Craigslist, could be yours for the 8 super easy payments of $13.75. Wow, I'm now hearing that we've actually gone down to 1 single pair. So if you're interested in this deal or any other products from our program, you can always log on to dealsafterdark.com or call us at 1-800-555-DEAL. See you next time.
Central Florida is the perfect place to study, earn a degree, and of course, to enjoy everything that Central Florida has to offer.
From theme parks to dinner shows and, of course, the movies, Orlando offers many unique and exciting activities to do. However, we all know that a ticket to any of these attractions can be expensive, especially on a college student budget.
UCF Student Government Association has the nights covered with the SGA Ticket Center.
Located at the heart of campus inside Student Union, SGA Ticket Center offers tickets at a special discounted price to UCF students, faculty, and staff.
Not only do they have discounted tickets for theme parks, but they also have discounted tickets for other attractions like Blue Man Group, Pirates Dinner Adventure, and Kennedy Space Center.
Save your money and experience all Orlando has to offer.
For more information, you can visit their website.
We're back on Hitting the Field. Josh and Eric now join me at the desk. Guys, with the recent firing of Kevin McHale from the Rockets, it gave us another reminder of how quick these organizations are to pull the plug on coaches. Josh, do you think the Rockets were right to pull the plug so quickly?
I feel they made a terrible decision by pulling the plug too early. Kevin McHale led this team to the Western Conference Finals last year, which was the first time they'd done it in over 15 years, back-to-back 50-win seasons, and to be honest, they were 4-7. And it's really early. The NBA season turns around a lot. They easily could have won 3 straight games that evened it up. And also for the fact that when you look at it, when you have that amount of success, I think Kevin McHale earned a better outing than he received. Definitely was not professional on the Rockets' behalf.
Yeah, you said it. 4-7 to start the season, 108 points allowing per game on defense. I think the biggest problem here was the collapse of the Clippers last year was the reason why they got to that Western Conference Finals, and we can credit the Rockets for finishing that series. But at the end of the day, I think he was brought in, Dwight Howard was brought in to resurrect his career back with the Houston Rockets like he did in Orlando. And I just feel as if that they never got that connection. I know he was injured, but Houston felt it was time.
I honestly feel that the main issue, when it comes to situations like this, when you are a successful coach and you get pulled, is more due to relationship with the player. And there was some talks about his relationship with Harden kind of souring this season, especially with the historic collapse they've had. First team in NBA history to fall the first 3 games by 20 points or more. So it's, I think that combined with everything that's been happening is not been what the Rockets expected.
So real quickly, do you think organizations are too quick to fire coaches?
Oh, absolutely. You look at soccer, for example. Rafa Benitez, after the Clásico this weekend, he's already going to have a meeting. It's going to be under pressure at Real Madrid to see if he keeps his job. We saw what New York City did in over there. And then David Moyes at Manchester United, so quick to pull the plug there after 26 seasons for Alex Ferguson. These coaches are feeling so much pressure to win now.
I think now we live in a win-now era. So the time where owners would actually give coaches the chance to build something, give them a 5-year period to have a decent product or a decent team is over. So now you have to put out results immediately. And we're actually, in our process, whoever the new UCF coach is, he's going to be on that same leash. So we can expect more.
It was another crazy Saturday in college football that we saw more than 2 top 10 teams go down, including number 3, Ohio State. Brett West and Daniel Bird join me at the desk now. Guys, who do you have in your top 4?
Well, my top 4 got shaken up quite a bit this weekend. I have Alabama still at the 1 spot, though. I think they are the best all-around team in the country right now. Derrick Henry, like we talked about last week, ridiculous running back, and then their defense is solid as well. Number 2, I have Clemson. I think they're the second best team in the country without a doubt. They're the only team I think that can compete with Alabama, really. And then number 3, Iowa, undefeated. And I know people hold it against them that they haven't played anyone really, but that's not their fault. You play who's on your schedule, and they've beaten everyone so far, and I think they'll win the Big Ten as well, so I have them at number 3. Number 4, this one's close. I have Oklahoma this week, and I think that could very well change depending on how well Notre Dame does against Stanford or how well Oklahoma does against Oklahoma State. But I think if you look at their wins, Oklahoma has the best wins. Notre Dame already lost to Clemson, and I don't feel comfortable putting Notre Dame in the playoff when you've already lost to one of the playoff teams. So that's my top 4, and let's hear what you got, Brett.
Well, you actually made some good picks on last week, with Ohio State. So, sorry to throw a little shade at you.
It's all right, it's all right.
So,
I got
number
you.
1, I'm going to keep it the same. I got Clemson. They had an easy game this week against Wake Forest, so, there's no reason to move them. They're up there, like you said, they can compete with Alabama. Those are probably the top 2 teams for me. So, going on to number 2, I got Alabama. Derrick Henry, that defense. No one in the SEC is going to stop them. I think they're going to beat Florida in the SEC championship game by about 20, and they're going to roll Auburn. Auburn just doesn't look like they can keep up with them. And number 3, I got Oklahoma. This is all contingent on Baker Mayfield. He got hurt with his concussion. He passed his test, so he's up in the air still about Saturday, but they think he's going to play. And then at number 4, I got Iowa. We kind of flipped there. But, Iowa hasn't played anyone. But, like you said, you got to play who's on your schedule. And they passed the test. They beat a good Northwestern team by 30. So I'm going to keep them there. And, Notre Dame kind of fell out for me. They just don't look that good right now. They're just stumbling right now. They're just getting through their schedule, but they beat Stanford. I think they jump back into my top 4 over Iowa.
I think it's tough, too, for Notre Dame. You play in Boston this past Saturday. Now you have to go out to the West Coast to play Stanford. I don't think they're going to get through that stretch unbeaten either.
Yeah, I think Kaiser's been struggling a little bit. He's turning the ball over quite a bit. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think Notre Dame's out for me right now. But if they get that big win, they can move right into it.
Who knows? Exactly. That's what you got to love about it.
Okay, well, it's one of the best weeks of the season. Rivalry week is here. Today's pick-em games, mostly rivalries. So let's go ahead and start off with USF, UCF.
Well, I don't like USF. No one here at UCF does, but we just look so bad, UCF does. So with me, unfortunately, I got to go with the Bulls.
I would love to pick the home team, but with how badly I predicted the games last week, I got to go with the safe pick here. USF, I think, is going to roll us, unfortunately, in the war on I-4.
Yeah, I kind of rolled you last week in the pick 'em.
Well, we'll see this week. Hey, I'll even it up this week. Don't worry. We got it.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with UCF just because I'm a Knight through and through. We may go down, but I'm gonna stick with my team.
Way to be positive.
Yeah, hey, I'm going to do it. Okay, now moving on to Ohio State versus Michigan.
I got Michigan. I actually think they're the best team in the Big Ten, personally. Unfortunately, they're not going to get to show that in the Big Ten championship game, but I've got Michigan and probably win by a touchdown.
I have Michigan as well. You have to wonder what happens if they win that game in the first week against Utah. I mean, we might be talking about them in the college football playoff a little bit more. And I think Ohio State, they're rattled. Ezekiel Elliott mouthing off after the game. I think they're not really.
That was bad.
It was awful. I've never seen that happen before. Cardale Jones, too, saying he's gone after this season. I don't think they have enough to regroup and beat Michigan.
I mean, if you think about it, Michigan is about one play away with the Michigan State game from one blown punt from being in the opportunity to play for that Big Ten championship game. Their season has just been an indictment on close plays and just not being able to finish it out.
But what a start for Harbaugh, though. I mean, this is nothing but a sign of good things to come for them going down the road.
I'm going to go with Michigan as well. I'm not a big Ohio State fan. They looked awful last weekend, so I'm definitely going with Michigan. Now moving on, Clemson versus South Carolina. Who do you all like?
I got Clemson, #1 team. They're going to roll South Carolina.
Yeah, South Carolina loses to Citadel last week, and they'll get destroyed by Clemson.
I agree. Clemson. Notre Dame versus Stanford.
I'm going to go with Stanford on this one. I think that trip out west is going to be too much for Notre Dame. They're just not playing very well right now. McCaffrey for Stanford has just been unreal this year with the all-purpose yards, kick return, rushing yards, receiving yards. So I got Stanford in this game.
I have Stanford, too. I think Kevin Hogan leads them down the field for a game-winning touchdown drive at the end, and they upset Notre Dame.
I'm going to go with Notre Dame as well. Now, one of my favorite rivalries, Florida State, Florida. What do you guys think?
I've been so back and forth with this game. Florida State looks better than Florida right now, but I think Florida plays up to their teams, and they also play down to their teams. So I think Florida's going to beat them this game. That defense is going to keep them in the game, and Treon Harris is going to make enough plays for them to win the game.
I can't pick Florida based off what I saw last week. That offense looked atrocious. And if you keep FAU around in a ball game, there's no way you can stop Dalvin Cook, in my opinion. I think Florida State gets them.
Oh, no. I'm definitely going with Florida on this one. Not a Florida State fan at all.
Surprise there.
But now we're going to go on for our last game, Alabama-Auburn. What do you guys have?
Yeah, no kick six this year. I don't even think it's even going to get to that. I think Alabama's going to have this game over by halftime.
I think Auburn as well. I think Alabama, excuse me. I think there's too much. Not going for the upset here. Alabama, too strong for Auburn.
I agree, Alabama. That's all the time we have for now. Be sure to check back next week for our show. And have a happy and safe Thanksgiving. Thanks for watching, hitting the field. Have a good rest of the day.